Hey everybody, Randy Reviews It here. Today we're going to be talking about this, the Shadow Systems DR920L. So what is this gun? So this is kind of Shadow Systems Glock 34 variant. They came out with a D920P before this, which had a built-in compensator. I did a video on that. Ended up getting rid of that gun. I'm not really a fan of comps or ports anymore with things. So wanted to try this and see how it compared to like my DR920 and then my Zev grip with the Shadow Systems Glock 19 Gen 3 slide on it. So, oh, excuse me. First, let's talk about like kind of the pros of this. We'll get into the cons. I got actually a field test so that you guys can, infer for yourselves if you notice a bigger difference than I did or anything like that, and then we'll have the conclusion and wrap things up. So to get into the pros, kind of the main thing I think behind buying a Shadow Systems is the optic mount. So Shadow Systems has arguably the best optic mount I think out there, even better than the Echelon, which has a really good optic mounting system too. The Shadow Systems one just goes deep. Like though, if you Loctite it onto a Shadow Systems, I would love to hear anyone that got one to fall off because the screws are like 3 or 4 times as long as any other mounting system that I've seen. It's really impressive how they kind of moved around the Glock internals so that they could screw things in a little deeper. And let's say what you want about the implications of what I've just said, but yeah. Overall, the mounting system is really, really good on these. They offer bumpers so that things fit up. You have a bunch of different options. And if you buy one of their plate things, so like, let's say the EPS, which came out after Shadow Systems, they have a plate that goes with it. It's like $7, which isn't too bad. And it comes with the screws, like to perfectly fit it with the Shadow Systems system, which is awesome. Number 2 with Shadow Systems, this grip. So I have the smallest back strap on here because what that does for me with my kind of fat, meaty hand is I don't get slide bite as much. The second you start cocking your hand, you can see like it's going to start hitting me. So Glocks really give me a lot of slide bite unless I use kind of like the larger beaver tail. But like my overall hand length, I don't think is extremely large. I just have a giant palm with things. So this grip is relatively close to a 1911 style. It's really slimmed off. It's just a good angle. And their grip texturing is great too. You can see on some of my older guns, there's a lot of dead skin in there because they're aggressive enough, but they're not too aggressive that you can't carry it or anything like that. Their frame here has a really nice undercut, a double undercut, so you have that support hand finger there as well. They got a thumb ramp here that's textured. Overall, the Shadow Systems frame is really, really good. I like it better than a Polymer 80. The Zev one, it's kind of a toss-up between them. So the Zev one feels a little bit chunkier, but I think the Zev has just a little bit better angle on things. And honestly, I think if this had the same trigger as the Zev, it might come out ahead. But that's for another day. So, grip, optic mount, takes Glock mags. I know I'm not really a fan of like AR9s and stuff that take Glock mags. And like I had a Chris Vector for a while that took Glock mags. Glock mags are popular. They're cheap. They're everywhere. They're almost like a currency in like the gun community, like, hey, I'll trade you 20 Glock mags for this, like if you were an old Diablo player, maybe like a Stone of Jordan equivalent with things. So takes Glock mags. They're easy to find, easy to get, and cheap. Number 4 with Shadow Systems, the customer service I've experienced has been awesome. I've had a few things where I've had questions on. The finish on one of my bronze barrels was wearing off really quick. They sent me a new barrel, no questions asked, with their new finish. Everything's great. So I've had really good customer service experience with them. And that, I think, is something in the gun community that's worth paying for. You hear some of the horror stories. Like, I'm not going to drag them more through the dirt, but I remember KUSA was kind of a nightmare on like their quality control and their warranty, and you know, having Jesse James, and then dead air is kind of everything that they're talking about right now. I don't know, you know, I don't own a dead air can. I've never had any issues with my cans, luckily, but customer service is definitely something to think about when you're making a purchase, especially, you know, a firearm. Shadow Systems is famous too for they have a warranty where if this ever gets like confiscated as evidence because of a defensive shooting, they actually send you a new one. So that's pretty cool. You know, it's not a big deal to me because I think like if I use my, you know, alchemy in a self-defense situation and they take my alchemy, yeah, it'll suck a little bit, but I'm alive. So I'm okay with that. Shadow Systems just goes a little bit further and says like, hey, we don't want you to go without, and we understand, you know, it's a hidden cost of defending yourself, so we're going to take care of that. So it's really good on them. Let's get into the cons of this gun. So the cons, the thing that I was hoping for the most, and it didn't feel like it delivered on, was the recoil impulse. So that's kind of what the field test is coming up after this con segment, is I shot my Shadow Systems Gen 3 slide on my Zev frame, which is Glock 19 length. It's got a DPM recoil system to kind of mitigate things a little bit more even. Then I shot my DR920, and then I shot the DR920L. So I shoot these all one round for a few kind of alterations, and then it goes 3 rounds, 3 rounds, 3 rounds. So that you can see like, it didn't feel like there was much of a recoil impulse difference at all with this. So the barrel's a little bit longer, it's a little bit heavier. I was expecting a little bit more out of it. I guess what I think they should have done is something like SIG, where they put tungsten infused, or what is it, like metal infused polymer on here. I think they put tungsten in the SIG ones, so it adds a little weight on here, because I think this was, you know, I haven't competed yet in anything. I'm looking to compete in shooting this year once it warms up a little bit. But like, it's got the fiber optic front sight, it's Glock 34 length. I'm pretty sure like this was designed more for a competition standpoint rather than carrying because of how long it is. But from a competition standpoint, I don't think it fares very well, because the DR920P, just to give you some background on that, sorry I got a little cold here, but the DR920P, you have to compete in open because it's got a comp on it. So this allows you to compete, I think, in like carry optics or something along those lines, or, you know, just carry iron sights, whatever that is. So it allows you to compete in a few more, I guess, like groups, but like against the SIG and the CZs and some of those heavier guns, I think this is going to be, it's not going to hold up as well, because when you have a heavier gun, you get a lighter recoil impulse, and it's easier to kind of swing and maintain that, and you know, get follow-up shots. Getting follow-up shots is really big with like a heavier gun. That's why some of those heavy 1911s and 9mm shoot like a dream, because you can just keep ripping rounds off. So I wish they would have done something, maybe add rods to like the back, like Zev's doing, I think, on their metal frame. Walder's got a metal frame gun. I think on the DR920L, if they would have done like an aluminum or a metal frame here to make it more viable, because right now I've had an XDM Elite 5 1/4, and that shot much better than this, to be honest. If that gun had an optic mount on it, a decent one, I would take it over this, probably. But, you know, they don't. So the recoil impulse isn't great on this. Number 2, it's got the same trigger as a DR920, which I know Shadow Systems has to be listening a little bit by now, but the Shadow Systems trigger isn't anything to like write home about. I've never heard of anyone raving about it. I have a few thousand rounds through my DR920s, and the trigger's gotten a little bit better. It's not like awful. You can work with it. Things are fine. For like a defensive gun, I think it's a decent trigger. But if I was going to run a competition with this or something along that nature, I would have expected a better trigger. Especially, you know, when there's guys out there that have like Timneys or Johnny Glocks or whatever it is. Maybe they just expected you to switch that out. I wish they would have done something with the trigger on this, because I think this is a little more expensive than just a regular DR920, especially if you're buying, like secondhand market or anything like that. So the recoil pattern, the trigger, and then, just because this gun is too light, I think, for its intended use, that it's not really going to hold up as well. So those are the cons. So now let's jump into the field test. What you're going to see in here, like I said, is one shot, one shot, one shot from each gun, and then three shot, three shot, three shot from each gun. And then we'll follow up with a conclusion, see if you came to the same conclusion that I did. Sorry about tripping on my words right there. That's pretty rough. All right, everyone, we're back. So we got the conclusion on the DR920L. So overall, I think this gun misses the mark a bit. It's a little bit pricier than a DR920. You're going to have less holster options, or less ideal holster options. You can't really carry it the same way that you can a DR920 or an XR920 or an MR920, whatever your flavor is. So I think, what purpose does it serve? It either serves for competition, bedside type thing where you're not in a holster, or if you're like duty and you got a big outside the waistband holster, big leg type deal, maybe this works. But like I said, I don't think it would do that well in competitions just because of the trigger and because of the weight. But I haven't competed, so maybe I shouldn't speak on that. I should keep my big mouth shut. If there's anyone that wants to correct me in the comments, that this is a phenomenal gun for competition, way better than everything else, correct me. But just on paper, this doesn't seem like it's it. I'm probably not going to keep this, in all honesty, because I like my DR920s. I like the little Franken Glock thing that I've built too. And like, if this doesn't shoot much better, there's not a noticeable gain, I think, on the shooting of this compared to a DR920. So I'm going to go with that DR920 every time and skip the L. I wish they would have done a little bit more with this. And I know, like, these are like 1,100, I think, or something like that. I got this for, I think, under 600 because I got lucky on, an auction type deal. So you can get them cheap, but like I said, there's Springfield XDM Elite has their 525, which is a much better shooting gun than this. It has a better trigger, better recoil impulse, and bigger mags too. Those XDM Elites have pretty big mags. Right out of the box. There's, I would say, probably too, the SIGs, with like the tungsten infused and everything like that, that's going to pull this out. And if you're going to change the trigger anyways, unless you're absolutely in love with this frame and this optics mounting system, Glock has some options out there too that you could probably start for like $500-600 and then put in all the things you want and come to about the same price as this MSRP. So the DR920L, while I was excited for it, and I'm a huge Shadow Systems fan. Don't get me wrong. I got 2 Shadow Systems in the house. I got a slide, on another gun. I'm a big fan of Shadow Systems. I've owned quite a few. I'm still a fan of Shadow Systems. I'm just not a fan of this iteration of Shadow Systems. So do with that what you will. Thanks for watching, everyone. Like, subscribe, comment, crap on me in the comments, whatever you want to do if I'm wrong. I love to get called out so that people have more information on things if I spoke incorrectly about something. But overall, thanks for watching, everyone. Take care.